Hi. Hello, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Adora Stephanie Moto, and I am the host of the Miss D Show. So, today I want to be talking about my 10 things that I think you should consider when thinking about getting married or before going into a marriage. Now, I would like to say this, and this is only my opinion. I'm not married, but this is based on my experience, interacting with people and what I've learned over time in my sojourn in this life. So feel free to disagree or agree or tell me about what's worked for you. So let's jump right into it. So, number one for me would be, I think the most obvious, love. Love. I think before any couple decide to go into marriage or take the next step, they should be sure that they love each other, that they love one another. Love is they always say love is not enough, but I think love is very critical and is a foundation to building any form of relationship. Now, in the Bible, so I'll take this right back biblical, okay? The Bible talked about how you should love God entirely, and in Matthew 22:35, I believe, it talked about loving yourself as you love your neighbor. So basically, you would not treat someone the way you would not want to be treated. I believe if you love someone, you see them as yourself, and whatever would hurt you most likely would hurt them. So if you truly love someone, you would want to be the best version of yourself towards them and love and care for them the best way you can. Also, I would like to quote Ephesians 5:25. Yes, cliche, but yes, it talks about husbands loving your wives as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. If you say you love someone you want to spend the rest of your life with, you would love them like Christ loved the church. I mean, Christ gave himself up. What are you giving up for someone you want to spend the rest of your life with? How much of yourself are you giving this person? When you say you love someone and you want to go into a marriage or a relationship, you need to realize that at this point in your life, there is no more I, and it's not about yourself, but it's about we. And technically what that means is you have to become more selfless and put God first and your partner before yourself, sadly saying this is the order of the day. So before you go into any marriage, you need to first and foremost ask yourself the honest questions. Do I really love my partner? Am I doing this just because I'm getting old? Everyone is getting married, I'm being pressured, the society is pressuring me. Do you actually love this person enough to forgive them whenever they drive you nuts, because they will? To overlook all their excesses and just be in sync with them. It's very important to self-evaluate yourself and be sure that you're truly in love with this person. Now, that being said, you need to also learn your partner's love language. I've talked about this in a previous video I've done. You can go on my channel and find the video I talked about love languages and compatibility to know whether you're really compatible with your partner. That's a very, very important test to always do. You should always find out how compatible you are with your partner and be sure that both of you work. That being said, when you know the love languages we have, which are about 5, you should always understand what is your partner's love language. The mistake we often make is that we know our love languages, and most times because it's ours and we understand it, we tend to speak that love language to our partners because technically that's what we expect to be spoken to us. However, you need to realize that your partner might have a totally different love language, and until you understand theirs, you're going to have a miscommunication. So you always need to know what your partner's love language is. Put yours on a step down and speak theirs when you're speaking with them or dealing with them, and likewise your partner dropping down their love language and speaking yours when they're dealing with you. That being said, I need to emphasize that you should love whoever you want to be with for the rest of your life for who they are. Honestly, who they are in entirety, like what they represent, who they are today, how crazy they are, how loud they are, how noisy they are, how social media savvy they are, how quiet they are, how introverted they are. Whatever it is that they represent as they stand, that's who you should love them for. Do not make the mistake of loving your partner for who you imagine them to be or who you hope they would become in marriage. Most times people do not change in marriage. In fact, they get worse. with the habits that you don't like, because when people get married, they get more comfortable with each other. And when you get to comfort zone, you know what that is like. You take off your shoes, you put your legs up on the bed, on the chair, and you change that Netflix channel. So technically, if you don't like something, once people get into a comfort zone, it tends to, magnify. So you should be sure that I love him or her as is. And if they get better, great. But if they don't, I love them and I accept them for who they are. Very important. My second point would be commitment. This is very, very big. I've gone for so many meetings and counseling classes about commitment. I would like to, first and foremost, before I talk about commitment, I would like to actually define what commitment is in a relationship or in a marriage. Commitment is doing whatever it takes to make a relationship work. Now, why I emphasize on defining this is I want to draw a distinction between commitment and compromise. Now, what is compromise? Compromise, simply put, is finding a balance, bridging the gap so both partners feel heard, understood, and can agree on an effective solution to a situation. So if you say, I have to compromise for my partner, both of you have to discuss it. You have to both agree on it. It might never always feel comfortable for you, because for you to compromise, it means you're going out of your comfort zone. However, you have to agree on it and, find an effective solution for whatever it is you're compromising for. Now, that being said, when I say you have to do whatever it takes to be committed in a marriage or a relationship, it simply means you have decided to be with this person. Now, I kid you not, marriage relationship is a decision. Yes, we say love. Oh my God, I have butterflies in my tummy. Yes, that's great and that's there. However, it really is more of a decision than a feeling. When you decide to be with someone, Nigerians will say, we die here, no leave, no surrender. You have decided to be with someone. It means you're willing to make a commitment to make it work, whatever the case may be. Okay, so now that being said, there are different types of commitment, but I'm emphasizing on personal commitment, because personal commitment is when you say, I will do this, not I ought to do this or I should do this, but I will do this. You have decided to do this. Now, bear in mind, I know commitment says do whatever it takes to work. However, this is where I need to emphasize on how we need to be careful when we decide to go ahead in a marriage and commit or compromise. Now, when you say you're committed to making something work, it means, like I said, you're willing to do whatever it takes to make it work, no matter how annoying your partner can get sometimes, because they will get annoying a lot of times. I would like to say this though. Annoying is different from violence and unbearable behaviors. Let me explain. So when you constantly find yourself reminding your partner about something that really bothers you, that really hurts you, and your partner is not doing anything about it or not trying to change, that's a problem. That's a sign of not being as committed in a relationship. I'll give you a more practical example. So there was this couple who were both married for a couple of years, and the wife had a habit of always pulling out the drawers and never pushing it back. And the husband always complained, honey, you need to put the drawer right back. You need to close the drawer. And, she wasn't intentionally not closing it. It was a habit she had got to use. So she just pulls it out and then walks off and forgets to slam it right back. And the husband always just got so mad about it, but always pushed it right back. And it got to one day, he's like, I'm not going to take this anymore. She pulled out this drawer. I tell her this a million and one times. I always shut it for her, and that's why she never does it. So today, I am not going to shut the drawer. Whenever she comes by, she will shut the drawer herself. Lo and behold, that day, their little son came running into the bedroom and went straight and slammed his head by the drawer, and they ended up in the hospital. And while they were in the hospital, the husband said to the wife, this is all your fault. We're here because of you. If you had shut the drawer, our son would have not been in this situation. And, the Holy Spirit literally administered to him at that point and said, no, you're in this situation because you didn't shut the drawer. What would it have taken for you to shut the drawer after your wife? Your son wouldn't have run into the drawer. So you see, when I say people should make an effort, I would like to give a distinction here. So when something is annoying, like I said, but it doesn't take your blood to do it. An instance I will give again. You don't like it when your partner has a shower and always spills water on the floor, and you always constantly tell them and they don't do it, and you have to mop it right after. You won't really die. I mean, you like the bathroom dry and clean, so I'm annoyed that I have to say this all the time to you. But honestly speaking, I can do it in 2 minutes and we'll be over and done with that. Or I can get a cleaner to do it. Another little thing is like toothpaste. You don't like people squeezing your toothpaste from the middle. It's annoying, frustrating, but you can do it. You don't like people leaving the toilet sit up when they're done. Annoying. I've said it to you, honey, a million and one times. Please, baby, put the toilet sit down. You leave it a woman, but it's always up and you always have to put it down. Annoying, but doesn't kill you. Okay? That's a difference with being annoyed by something a partner does, but being able to overlook it or just do it just for peace to reign and for you to have your sanity. Now, there are issues where you constantly have to say something. It genuinely bothers you. You always have to breathe for peace to reign in the family. You apologize, but it's not changing. I'll give you an example as well. You're someone who doesn't like your partner speaking about your family or private issues to outsiders every time, and you always do it, and and he's complained about it or she's complained about it, and you keep doing it. Or I'll give you more of a realistic example. You're always talking to your mom, and this is for the men preferably. You're always talking to your mom about your wife, how your wife this, how your wife that, and your mom isn't someone very comfortable with your wife, and your wife doesn't like it because it makes her look bad, and she's not comfortable around your mother, and you always keep doing this, and she's complained over and over and over again, and you still doing that. That's different from being annoying. That's actually affecting the woman's mental health. That's affecting her. That's driving her nuts. That's like, I don't respect you enough to listen to what you're saying. I tell you how we should resolve issues when we have problems in the home. You don't listen. You constantly do it your way. That is mentally draining. And when it gets to a point where the more you try to do things to reach halfway and the other partner is not doing as much, the commitment levels are not equal. Yes, most times in marriages, one person might have to commit more than the other, i.e. one person always apologizes when there's an argument, even if they're not wrong. And the truth about that is, it's fine for peace to reign, but are you really happy? What's your mental state like? At the end of the day, it's tricky because you can say there's peace in the home because we're not fighting constantly because I'm apologizing. But the truth is, the fact that you always apologize even when you're not wrong makes your other party lackadaisic, and they do not know that they have a duty of care to apologize when they've gone wrong because they're used to you always coming through. And when that happens, it tends to become a habit, and it's emotionally is draining on the other partner. And at some point, you tend to lose it, and no one deserves to be in that kind of situation. Commitment is two parties making it work and not one. And if you're constantly trying to make it work and the other party is not meeting you the other halfway, then that relationship needs to be reconsidered. It might not be where you want to be. Take note. Another very important thing which I said is like drawing a thin line between commitment and compromise. It's compromise. It's in its own self. And I define what compromise means. Now, compromise, before you go into a marriage, you need to talk about what you're willing to compromise on. I would like to tie this point with finances and, discussing values and beliefs. Now, I'm from Catholic denomination, and I know in the Catholic faith, if you're marrying a non-Catholic, which is a mixed marriage, they make you sign an ultimatum or an agreement that your wife is not going to leave the Catholic Church and your children are going to be brought up in the Catholic faith. Now, they always try and go out of their way to educate people who are going into this kind of marriages to understand the implications of it and be in agreement with it. Now, if you're not comfortable with that, it's something you need to talk about and be sure that if this is going to cause a problem in your marriage, then maybe you should reconsider. When you say you're going to compromise on certain things, standards are there, comfort levels are there, backgrounds are there. Imagine, for instance, a woman lives in the highbrow area in Abuja, for instance, where I live. So say you live in Wuse or Maitama or Asokoro, and you've lived there your whole life with your parents, and you've had the good life, it's close proximity to work and your friends and your hangout spots, and then you get married to this young man who cannot afford a lifestyle like that or property in those areas, and you have to move to somewhere called Kubwa, for instance. Now, technically, you're going to have to compromise on certain things. You're going to have to wake up earlier hours because you have to get to work because you live farther than where you used to. And if you're not a morning person and that's a drag for you, you're most likely going to be going late to work and be cranky. You're probably going to have to drive longer hours or longer distance to get to work. Probably going to be caught in traffic on your way back home and your feet are going to hurt. If you're not willing to do that drive, you're probably going to have to engage getting a driver, which will cost even more. You probably get home cranky every day and you're not willing to make dinner. You're irritable to your family, your husband, and your kids. These are things that are going to play out in the long run. Now, in the dating phase, is exciting. I love you, baby. Whether I 1 naira, whether I 1 million, baby, I got you. Yeah, sounds really good, right? But the reality that people don't tell us is it doesn't always work like that. And you need to be honest with yourself. That's one thing we don't do a lot. We're not very honest with ourselves. Before you get married, you need to really ask yourself the hard questions. Am I willing to compromise on my standards and level? You might want to do it at that point because of pressure. You might think you're getting old, everyone is getting married, I need to get married and settle. By the end of the day, how long can you live that life? And when you tend to compromise so much of what you're comfortable with at the expense of someone else, you're going to tend to despise your partner for putting you in that situation where it's not their fault, and then you become irritable, you become cranky, and before you know it, you blow up. Unfortunately, this generation where we live in, social media, no thanks to our parents and societies we live in, our generation is one of the most impatient. We have zero tolerance and zero patience, and that explains the high level and rate of divorce in this generation. So you need to really be honest with yourself. I mean, if you do not want to move to a area that is not comfortable with your standards or background and you can afford to live in a better area, then why not? If your partner is willing to have you split the bills or cover it to live in a more comfortable area, then great. You got a understanding, loving partner. However, if you guys cannot talk about it and agree, and you do not think that you can compromise to that level, it is not a bad thing. People should not judge people for that and say, oh, she is spoiled, she's not willing to start humble beginnings. That is your decision. You know yourself more than anybody else, and do not be sorry for that. There is someone out there for everybody. So as long as that agreement isn't had, it's okay to go separate ways. Quote me on this. It's very important because, it doesn't take too long for people to get frustrated, irritated, and before you know it, there's no basis for communication anymore in marriage, and then everything breaks down. So, like I said, we need to talk about these things. We need to be honest about what level of compromise we're willing to make in marriages. Fair enough, you must always have to make a compromise. You cannot always have it your way. But however, you have to, like my priest would say, you have to make a list of hierarchy and a list of priorities. What is the most important thing to you? What are you willing to let go? What is that thing that if you have to compromise on, you're not going to lose your mind or your life? Maybe you can't go on vacations 3 times a year like you used to. You can only go once a year. Well, would I die if I don't go 3 times a year? Maybe not. I don't get to buy 10 pairs of shoes like I would, with the new Louis Vuitton collection or the Louis Vuitton collection. That's okay. I'm not gonna die. I'll buy 1 a year, but if it's something that is drastic, i.e., like I said, moving from a Sokoro to One Man Village or Nyanya, and that is something you are not open to, then please do not do it. I know love can make people do crazy things in the beginning, but please, I know love, you want to think about what you want now, but think about how you would feel or where you would be in the next 2 years. Not to say that God isn't amazing and people's lives don't change overnight, because I do believe, and like the Bible says, he who finds a wife finds a good thing and obtains favor from the Lord. You might get married and doors will open and you have everything you want. However, like I said, if it doesn't pan out the way you want it or as soon as you want it, can you compromise till they work? It's only you that can answer that question. So people need to ask these hard questions. You can't run away from these conversations. You need to discuss these things. You need to talk about your finances. What are we willing to do? What are we willing to give up? Where are we going to live? How much are we going to contribute to running our home, our children's fees? What percentage are we bringing? These are very important conversations that should never be overlooked and should be agreed upon before going into a marriage. When I say that also, I would like to emphasize the fact that, when you compromise on certain things, you need to also think about what is the other partner compromising on as well. What are they letting go of to make you happy? Because at the end of the day, you're compromising for a common goal, which is very important, but also for each other's happiness. So I keep saying compromise is good, but it has to be agreed upon and you both have to be comfortable with it. Trust and acceptance. Trust, you will do what trust, pretty much is, I have to come to a place where I can trust my partner. I can trust you to have my back no matter what. You're not one that's going to leave me high and dry halfway. When you ask a woman to spend the rest of her life with you, it's a big question. And that means she's going to leave everything and everyone she knows. And likewise you. The Bible says a man shall leave and cleave with his wife. It becomes the two of you. You should be able to say she's got my back no matter what. And likewise, she say you got her back no matter what. In difficult times, in easy times, the vows we take in church says for better, for worse, in sickness and in health, till death do you part. Now, a lot of people make those vows, but they don't know what it means, and they're not willing to do them when push comes to shove. Now, I want to be able to trust my partner that he will do what he says he will do. When partners are the first to always say, oh, baby, I'm sorry, because they don't like an argument, or they just want to, make up sex and move on from an argument. The reality is, are they really sorry? And if they're not, it will tend to become a recital. It will tend to become a lullaby. They say it every other week, and then they go ahead and do the same thing the next week. After a while, you lose trust, and your partner cannot trust you anymore because your words do not hold water. You do not want to be in a marriage where you don't trust your partner, or you don't trust anything they say. Very important. And if you don't trust your partner, then you shouldn't be in that relationship. Acceptance, again, like I said, your partner should be able to accept you for who you are, not who they want or expect you to be. Do not lie to yourself. You must make sure that, I love him or her as is. And if they get better, like I said, thanks be to God. But acceptance is extremely important. Intimacy. Okay, so one thing I would say is do not lie to yourself that someone you're not intimate with, or okay, so if you're from a Christian background, you're not encouraged to have sexual intimacy with a partner who you're not married to yet. However, intimacy is not necessarily sexual. Intimacy is also in the mind. Intimacy is also how your emotions play out with your partner, how you think about your partner. Sometimes people go into marriages without being fully into the person they are getting married to. Emotionally or sexually, they might not be in love, or they might not be physically and emotionally attracted to that person, and they believe, well, it would grow. Okay, sometimes it doesn't. Harsh reality. And if there's no intimacy in a relationship and you cannot work on building that, I don't think it's something you should gamble with going in. It's a very vital ingredient to a successful marriage and a relationship. So as much as I would not encourage you to have premarital intercourse, I would also advise you to make sure that there's some level of mental, physical, and emotional intimacy between the two of you. The excitement, talk about it. Talk about your needs, talk about your wants, talk about what you would like and how you would like to be treated, pleased, how you like someone to be there for you. Are you a cuddle type? Are you the one that likes to be listened to? Are you the one that likes physical touch? All of that. You need to know how you like to be loved, and your partner needs to understand that and be able to give you that level of love, and they should be that unity physically, mentally, and emotionally. Talk about issues that make you stay on the same page. Now, this is communication. This is my biggest peeve. Like, I'm a communicator. I talk for a living. And some people don't like that because they think you talk too much. I've been told I talk way too much. Some people just find it rambling or recital. Oh my God, you've been going over and over again. However, for extroverts like me or people who are very opinionated, we talk a lot because we are trying so hard to get our views across and get the listener understand where we're coming from. One thing I would say is for partners tending to go into marriages, communication is, if not one of the most key ingredients to a successful relationship, friendship, or marriage. You should be free to express yourself, your deepest feelings, your concerns, your worries, your fears to your partner without any guilt or any fear of being judged. Now, when you tell your partner things that bother you or things from your past and they use that against you in future, in arguments, in conversations, that's a red flag. When you confide in your partner about everything and anything that bothers and worries you, and your partner is always going to be there or understands where you come from based on things you've told them in the past and doesn't use it against you, that's a keeper. We need to learn to listen and understand and not listen to respond. A lot of us are waiting for a partner to finish talking and jump in. People like us who talk too much. People get tired of listening. But however, you need to understand, why is he or she spending so much time trying to get the message across, trying to get their point across? Am I hearing them or am I listening to them? And if I'm hearing them, what are they saying? What are they saying that these issues, how are they saying that these issues make them feel? And how can I understand them better and relate or treat them the way they would like to be treated? Because that's the whole idea of communication. How I want to be treated, how I want to be made to feel loved, how I want things to be done, how I'm used to having things done, and how we can meet in the middle. You need to talk about things. There is no way you can solve a problem by getting a third party talk for both of you or come in between your relationship or your marriage. You need to be able to talk to one another. I always tell everyone I date that whenever we have a fight, try not to go to bed without us trying to reconcile that night. Because what tends to happen, like someone would say, when there's a crack in the wall, the ghettos get in. For someone like me, one of my weaknesses is when I'm hurt or I'm bothered about an argument or a fight, I tend to talk to other people about it simply because I'm losing my mind. I'm trying to be sure if I'm not the one who's wrong, what have I done wrong? Am I missing a point here? Why am I not seeing the issues? Am I the issue? And what tends to happen is when you're in love with someone and you discuss them with other people, you tend to forgive them first and the other people do not forgive them. And at the end of the day, what happens? You guys make up and everybody else hates that person. So when your business goes out there, it's hard to erase it out there. So try and talk with your partner no matter what the topic is. There are people who love to run away from conversations. They say they don't like confrontations. They don't like discussing things that are not comfortable with them. Once you decide to go into a marriage or a relationship, there is no longer me, what I am comfortable with, what I like. It's not about what we like. So you're going to have to suck it up and listen to your partner, understand why things bother them, how they think, how they function, and, try and speak each other's love language, like I keep saying. Try and talk about everything together and try and find the middle ground. Learn to see things from your partner's perspective. Why do they see things the way they do? Like I said, what bothers them? Why does it bother them? And when you have a better understanding of your partner, you will have a beautiful relationship because you know the person you're with. There's nothing more important than marrying your friend. They say marry your best friend. Marry someone you understand and you can vouch for them wherever. Someone who doesn't know your partner might think, oh, that girl is crazy. How do you live with her? Or that man is crazy. But you know your partner. So you know that they might seem crazy to the world, but because you understand them, they're not crazy to you. That's like me. People think I'm crazy, but if you know me, you understand. Like I said, financial conversations are a must. You must have financial conversations. You cannot run away from it. Like I said, where you live, where your kids will go to school, how you contribute to the running of the house, how you contribute to the marriage, who brings what percent of what, who takes care of what. You cannot run away from these conversations, and they're a recipe to a disaster in a relationship if they're not carefully managed. One most important thing I'll always say in marriage is that you and your partner have to have similar or the same goals, aspirations, beliefs going into a marriage. When two partners have a common goal, everything you do tends to work towards your common goal. So, for instance, what are your values? What are the values you were brought up in your household? Are you a family that prays together? Are you a family that, goes to church, believes in going to church? Are you a family that, you know, you believe in putting things together and supporting a family that you don't mind if the wife can cover? Maybe you come from a family where your mom was able to support your dad throughout your schooling and bring half of the funds, or you come from a family where only your dad was capable of taking care of it. What are your beliefs? What are the values? What do you hold sacred? What are your deal breakers? And what are your goals in life? So are you a builder? Are you someone who looks forward to acquiring properties in the future, going into real estate? Are you people that look towards opening an NGO? You're into helping people, you have a humanitarian side? What are your goals as a person, first and foremost? And when you identify that, what are the goals of your partner? Are they things that both of you can be in sync with? Are they things that both of you can not necessarily be interested in, but be supportive of while you go your own independent goals? I would advise that in a marriage, you should have a common goal in terms of the growth of your family. So either you guys are working towards buying a house, or you're working towards building a home, or you're working towards whether you're going to have kids. Some partners don't want to have kids, or they want to have one, you want to have five. These are conversations that need to be had. Maybe your wife doesn't want to carry kids naturally herself and she'd rather have a surrogate. Maybe you're not comfortable with that. You need to have similar goals. You need to have agreements in what both of you believe and what both of you want, because when you have that, it makes communication, it makes living, it makes life way more easier. So I would never overemphasize that. Discuss what your short and long-term goals are, and be in sync with them. If you don't have common goals, maybe your husband is interested in, I don't know, traveling the world. He doesn't believe in savings, or he believes in agriculture and you believe in properties, real estates, and you're constantly trying to take from your savings to buy properties and develop, and he's constantly trying to take the money to go into this creative business. He's been trying to build some equipment or farming. There's always going to be a distortion, and you guys are going to have to drag on your finances, and these things tend to break a family down. So you need to discuss these things and figure out your funding equations, and if you can be in sync, great. If you cannot, figure out how to be individually creative in your areas, but mutually creative for the common good of the family. The one I like the most: do not marry a potential. And when I say it, I don't mean financially. When I say potential, I mean, you know how people say, oh, my partner is a good guy, she's a good girl, she's great, she's a Christian, she's pretty, she has a good educational background. Great, but how do you feel about her? Are they things you don't agree with her personality or his personality? Is this person exactly who you would wish to spend the rest of your life with? They're good people, notwithstanding. Anyone can marry them. They're great, but are they the kind of people you want to spend the rest of your life with? How do they make you feel? Do you get excited? Can you guys sit on the couch and make fun of people and talk and laugh? Or can you just coexist in the same space? These are very important issues you need to talk about. You may love someone, but you may love them, but you have certain expectations that they do not meet. And that's very critical. So like I said, you can love someone and that person can be a great person, can be an amazing person, but they don't meet certain expectations, which can affect what you want as a life partner. So be friends, but do not go into a lifelong agreement or contract that you would regret going backwards. Also, if you marry who they can potentially be and who they are not who they are, then you do not only set up yourself for disappointment, but you also set unrealistic expectations from them that they may and most likely will not be able to meet. That's what I'm trying to say. So you want someone who's extremely romantic and always buys you flowers and sends you romantic texts every morning, but your partner is not that kind of person. He's a good, God-loving person, but he's not that person. And you constantly want those things and you're not getting them. He's not meeting up with those things. He's not that kind of person. And you hoped he'll go into that in marriage and he's not. It tends to break down the building blocks as time goes by. So you need to think about that as well. Notes. One big mistake we make a lot. Your partner will not complete you. We keep looking for someone to complete us. Oh, make me complete, make me happy. Your partner is here to complement you. You have to love yourself enough to complete yourself, and then someone else will come into your life to complement you. So we always out there looking for someone to complete us just simply because we're not complete ourselves. Find Jesus. The Lord is the only one who can complete you, but your partner can complement you. Never forget that. That being said, yes, these are the points I have. One of the most important things I would say to crown this all is pre-marriage counseling. There's something called SYMBIS. That's the abbreviation, SYMBIS. It's simply called start your marriage before it starts, right? Or solve your marriage before it starts. So pretty much you need to make sure this marriage will work before you even go into it. And a lot of people take that for granted. They don't go for premarital counseling, which is, I think, is extremely important, especially if you can go with your partner. You need to understand the realities of what you're going into. The love and honeymoon and engagement period is so exciting. You have butterflies in your tummy, you're kissing and cuddling every now and then, but the reality is in front of you. And when you get there, can you handle it? Some people don't even know it's going to come. So you need to go for these classes to be prepared for what you're going to meet and how you're going to handle it when they come in, and be sure that you're ready to commit to that kind of agreement and arrangement. I will not overemphasize that everyone deserves and should go for premarital counseling or classes. And if you get married, I advise to also find counseling sessions that people can belong to post-marriage. So they want for 1 year to 5 years married, 5 to 10, and so on and so forth, because every stage in your marriage is going to be different things you have to deal with. And the more you're married, the more you need to talk about things and solve issues and grow in love. Okay, so these are my tips on how to be sure that the person you want to spend the rest of your life is the person you should be spending the rest of your life with. You do not want to make a mistake. You do not want to go into a marriage that would end before it starts. So on that note, I pray that you all pray for the spirit of discernment. I pray that God brings each and every one of you who are seeking for a life partner, that person who complements you, who understands you, who is willing to make a commitment, a personal commitment to spend the rest of their lives with you. And trust me, marriage is beautiful. It is. I have seen it, and I believe it's attainable as long as we make the right decisions, we ask the right questions, and we have the right communications before we go into it. You would have a blissful marriage. So please take your time, do this test, check your compatibility, talk about these things, and I wish you all a beautiful, blessed marriage with God in the center. Until I come your way again, God bless you, keep shining, and Adora loves you. Stay blessed. Bye.